I'm just me. I've been doing some reflecting recently, reflecting on observations I have been making of myself. This was a conscious choice I made after a number of observations which had been made of me. Observations about my character, observations about how I present myself, observations about things like my self confidence, my degree of authenticity, boldness, and conviction, among other things. Questions were raised about the existence of my soul, lifetimes it experienced, and its purpose and direction over time. Apparently, this discussion moved me in ways I was not expecting, as I have since written two poems and another blog post prior to this, which have in some way or another had a connection to this overall theme of self observation. So, what's going on here? Why the reflection? Why now? Why like this? Prior to the conversation, I had always simply viewed myself as just me, genuine, honest, direct, kind, and like everyone else, I suspect, very capable of making mistakes. I've always viewed myself as someone with a strong sense of self, with integrity at the core of my being. Beyond that, however, I never really gave it much thought. Sure, I've had a lifetime of battling the negative images of myself imposed on me by others as I was growing up. But when it came to the positive stuff, the good stuff, nope, that wasn't how I sized myself up at all, really. But then there was that conversation. You remember the one. And that got me thinking. It got me curious for a moment about how others might truly see me. It got me wondering if there are things about myself that I might be missing. So I decided to pay attention for a moment. I decided to be the observer of that which I was observing in particularly trying situations. I chose to be the proverbial fly on the wall in circumstances in which I found myself being confronted, disrespected, and directly lied to. I decided to watch not only how others were reacting or responding to me, but also how I was presenting myself in those circumstances. And I learned something about myself. And also, I learned that it was nothing I didn't already know. What I knew to be true about myself was that I have no problem standing my ground in the face of adversity. What I knew to be true about myself shone through as I stood up for what was right in the face of what was blatantly wrong. You may call that courageous. I call it simply doing what is right. Over and over again, I have watched myself and listened to myself as I took a stand to speak my mind about what I knew to be right. It took me many years of my life to get to a place where I was able to do that. I still recall the moment that it happened that very first time. It was when I was a teenager and my father had backed me into a corner in my bedroom. He had grabbed me by the hair on my head and was hitting me in the face as he banged my head against the wall behind me. He was yelling in my face. I was yelling back. I was crying. He threatened me, telling me that if I didn't stop crying, he was going to give me something to cry about. I just yelled, "Go ahead." He stopped hitting me and asked me why I had said that. I was still yelling when I told him, "Because you're going to do what you want to do anyway." He stopped hitting me. I learned something that day of great value. Sometimes you just have to ask yourself, what have I got to lose in this situation by standing my ground? For standing up for myself, for standing up for what I know is right. Sure, he could have kept hitting me, but that could have been the case regardless of what I chose to do. But because I chose to do something, he stopped. What I learned was something that I believed I had already known to be true about myself, and I am grateful that I was able to have it reinforced through this process. That I have integrity and I will always stand up for what I believe is right. That I truly don't care what other people think of me so much. I like knowing that I am not someone who tries to impress others. I like knowing that I am someone who can be genuinely myself, regardless of what others think of me. I like knowing that I don't see myself as any more special or any less special than anyone else. I like knowing that I'm not self absorbed and that I'm just me. Nothing special, just me. I am grateful that I chose to really reflect on our last conversation. I'm glad I chose to truly take time to be intentional in my observations of myself for a few moments through some recent challenging experiences, as well as observing from a different perspective how others may be viewing me. It was very enlightening. But now, I think I'm going to go back to the way I was before our last conversation, before the question was raised about how I see myself. Because the truth is, I'm just me, and I'm okay with that. Always, TJ.